Remember, don't like, share, or subscribe. What are you trying to do? Blow up the channel or something? I got enough on my plate. So another crazy week in the newsroom. Hunter Biden, guilty on gun charges. Obviously, he, as a drug user, had no business going to get himself a gun, of which his wife, I guess, discarded some week or so later by dropping it into a garbage can in close proximity, if I'm not mistaken, to a school. You got a lot of brilliant people in this whole circle. Mind you, if it was anybody else in this world, you, me, or otherwise, that did these things, it would have been automatic slammer for us people. But this is the hypocrisy of the world that we live in. Right, left, center. I don't care. As long as what's true is true, and that people own and are accountable, held to the dissemination of correct, truthful information, and when corrected, stand by, you know what, we got it wrong. Lest they be part of the conspiracy or the intention to defraud people of making good decisions with all the available information. And so, we're going to jump right into it. They got Harris Faulkner from Fox News talking about not only the decision, but all of the people that say that the right are propagandists and conspiracy theorists and peddle in misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theories and mistruths. The projection artists, hard at work. Let's get into it.
The biggest stories reemerging from Hunter's trial, of course, is the infamous laptop. The episode caused millions of Americans to rethink their trust in the media, the intelligence community, and our elected officials, because everybody was lying about it. The FBI had it. We were still being told it was Russian disinformation. Earlier this week, an FBI special agent testified that everything on Hunter's laptop is authentic and unaltered. Yet none of the people who dismissed the laptop as Russian disinformation has come forward to admit they were wrong, or they were lying, or they were, well, whatever they want to call it. Remember when 51 intelligence agents swore this? A laptop op fits the bill, as the publication of emails are clearly designed to discredit Biden. None of them has taken responsibility. How about the Democrats, the media? Well, they all said things like this.
I think it's broadly known and widely known, Peter, that there was a broad range of Russian disinformation.
The origins of this whole smear are from the Kremlin.
It's classic textbook Soviet-Russian tradecraft at work.
Looks like a classic Russian playbook disinformation campaign.
The U.S. authorities are seeing if those emails we just talked about are connected to an ongoing Russian disinformation effort.
It is so obviously a Russian operation.
Hunter Biden, this laptop that intelligence officials have warned is likely Russian disinformation.
Ongoing Russian disinformation effort.
Ongoing Russian disinformation effort.
What do you say about the guy there at the end with the mask on? Come on, man. That's the same guy driving around with a mask on, I'm sure, and to this day. Give me a break. So all of these people in high levels of government, there must be one of these postulates that is true, for they can all not be true. These people, you know, the Clappers, the McCabe's, all of those high-level guys in government that said, this has all the hallmarks of a Russian propaganda conspiracy. Disinformation being facilitated, promulgated, promoted by Russia. Clearly the laptop is Russian. Russian in origin. These are people in government, Homeland Security, the Defense, DOJ, CIA. These are the people in the country saying this. And what did they use the laptop? To convict Hunter, because it was all validated as true. That means all of those people are in their job, inept, ineffective, unqualified, which they're not. They got there somehow, so they're qualified. That means that they must be part of the engine that was designed to take down Trump for many reasons. They don't like him. They think that he maybe is going to reveal the fact they have a political partisan bend such that goes against him and the policies of people of the right. So they're supposed to be dispassionate people in government, but clearly they're obviously passionate people of political bends. And then what they're doing is they're facilitating lies and deception. The true election interference. Because we all know, I knew, and I'm a moron. We all knew that laptop was real and it wasn't originating. Russia didn't have something to do with that, but it was always Russia, Russia, Russia. But of course, now they could say, well, see, justice is fair because Trump got convicted and now our boy Hunter, he got convicted. The difference is they went just on a masquerade witch hunt to try to find the crime, resurrecting, bringing back from the dead misdemeanors, and somehow cobbling them to be some kind of a felony on Trump. The difference is Hunter Biden is actually a criminal, I don't want to say mastermind because that would give him too much credit. So let's take a look. Let's go with Jesse.
Fox News alert, guilty, guilty, guilty was the verdict handed down by a jury of Hunter Biden's peers. For the first time in his life, Hunter faced the music. 2 counts of lying on a gun form, 1 count of possession of a firearm by a drug user. Hunter Biden appeared wide-eyed and motionless as he became the first child of a sitting president to be convicted of a crime. 3 felonies. Hunter now facing a maximum of 25 years in prison, but the sentencing guidelines suggest just a couple, although the judge could deviate and do whatever she wants. Sentencing will probably occur before September 5th, when Hunter goes on trial in LA for tax evasion. That means Hunter could be sentenced to prison just days before the second presidential debate. He'll obviously appeal. Here's special counsel David Weiss after today's verdict.
Hunter Biden was convicted of 2 counts of lying on a form submitted to a federal firearms dealer about his addiction or use of crack cocaine and possessing a firearm while a user or addict. No one in this country is above the law. Everyone must be accountable for their actions, even this defendant. However, Hunter Biden should be no more accountable than any other citizen convicted of this same conduct.
You're crazy if you don't think that there's not 2 tiers of justice. Clearly there is. They got Trump because that's what they set out to do. Matthew Colangelo was sent down from Washington to helm this case against Trump. Alvin Bragg, who they all said, even the Federal Elections Committee, said there's no case against Trump here. But when Alvin Bragg said, I did my job. He did. He was the guy that was tasked with getting Trump, bruise him, bang him up, give him a black eye so we can say he's a convicted felon. And we're just going to keep saying it. Convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon. It doesn't matter if it gets turned over in appeals. They know it's going to get turned over in appeal. But it's enough to maybe sway the electorate. True election interference. Just like the laptop. True election interference. The difference is the left is expert level at projecting and saying he did it, which is exactly all of the things that they're doing. And the media, and this is what is scary about our world today, and that's why I talk about this constantly, because it shapes social and political feelings, psychologies, how people are very tribal now, and they look at one another as you're on that side, we're on this side, may the best man win, so to speak. So the media has to say, my God, but poor Joe and Jill, boy, families that have people that are drug addicts, boy, it just must pull on the heartstrings. So they're all coddling Hunter in this case because of his drug use. Can you imagine it was any of the Trump kids, any of them, that were, Beau Biden died and Hunter got together with his wife, which says, what kind of a woman is she? What kind of a man is he? He's using drugs, taking pictures of himself, paying for prostitutes, buying guns. Trump may not even have slept with Stormy, and he said, listen, it's $130,000. Just be quiet, please, just about it. Whether or not it happened, we have no real idea. Hunter actually did these things. If it was any of the Trump children, the double standard is the media would crucify not only Trump himself, but all of those kids. But you could judge a man by his children. And you can see all of the Trump kids, high class. Biden's kids and family, I'm sorry, I hate to say it, not so much. Let's take a look.
The jury followed the law, the judge ran a tight trial, and justice was served. But just because one Democrat was convicted doesn't mean the American legal system isn't being abused. The feds are still throwing dozens of Republicans in prison on trumped-up charges and trying to incarcerate the Republican nominee for a crime they cooked up with black magic to hocus pocus an election. Hunter's judge didn't donate to a group called Stop Democrats either. The media celebrated the Trump verdict like a July 4th barbecue, but treated Hunter's like a funeral.
This trial inside the courtroom, like virtually every criminal trial, was a personal story, a personal tragedy, a family tragedy.
Every presidential family is part of the American family. That's the way it works. This is a tragedy for the Biden family. That family drama played out in a courtroom in ways we have never seen before. It doesn't make it any less painful for the nation or for the family. But the verdict is now real, and the consequences will apply.
This public life of this family, which began a half century ago, after all, with the car accident that killed his late wife and his daughter, injured his two sons. You now fast forward all the way to today, and this really dramatic and ultimately painful process continues.
Hunter's everything the media claims to despise. A white privileged, sexist, spoiled brat who barks, "Don't you know who my daddy is?" But he's a Democrat, so the media circles the wagons.
You gotta love a world that has sweet irony. Now, Joe, after the conviction, has to say, I love my boy. I love him. He's my son. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the drug addict that he's become. Because you always have that problem. Now, if he was a real guy, he would say, my son, he has done things that make me very unhappy. He has always struggled with drug use. And I am not a fan. And then what did he do? He went out and bought a gun. Because now Joe has to go to this gun control conference knowing that his son just got convicted of having a weapon while he was a known drug user. And he doesn't even say anything that is based in reality. Should be saying, like, my son went out and got a gun. He knows what my position is about guns. He is also somebody who's had a drug problem. There's no reason why this guy should be going out for a gun. But he's my son and I love him. And I have to forgive him for these missteps that drive me crazy. But he didn't say any of that. Because all he did was just smooth it over with the electorate with the savvy skills of a 50-year politician. Bring it up.
There's never been a time that says you can own anything you want. You couldn't own a cannon during the Civil War. No, I'm serious. Think about it. How much have you heard this phrase? The blood of liberty. Wash of dough. Give me a break. If they want to think to take on government if we get out of line, which they're talking again about, well, guess what? They need F-15s. They don't need a rifle.
But he wants to restrict the Second Amendment for sober, law-abiding Americans. And by the way, our government had F-15s in Afghanistan, and the Taliban won with rifles. We're not looking to overthrow Joe, just to throw him out. After a jury found Hunter guilty of gun felonies, Joe Biden said he is proud of him. Quote, "Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today." There's no contrition at all by the Biden family. Hunter didn't show any remorse. He was smiling afterwards. His father's not ashamed, wouldn't even gently condemn his son's actions. Hunter's committed more crimes than we can count, and all Biden says is he's proud. The reason Hunter's broken the law for 30 years and not paid the piper is because of his dad. If every time I screwed up and my dad's response was, "I'm proud, son, I love you," I'd keep screwing up. Bailing somebody out over and over again doesn't mean you love them. Hunter was kicked out of the Navy for cocaine on an administrative discharge instead of a dishonorable one because his dad greased the brass. Hunter got caught with cocaine at the Jersey Shore way back in the 80s, and the senator's son had his record expunged. When he left his crack pipe in a rental car, police investigated and dropped the charges. When he put 20 grand on his dad's Amex for Russian escorts, the Secret Service cleaned it up. When he lost his laptop, the FBI and CIA covered it up. When he owed millions in back taxes, his sugar brother footed the bill. When he needed money for alimony and child support, daddy's donors bought his dopey art. His dad's own Justice Department tried to make the gun and tax case go away a year ago today.
Now, a lie's a lie, and I don't care who tells it, right, left, it doesn't matter. But it just seems, if you look at media, news, and you're looking at it through the rational lens of truth, and you're keeping your personal feelings and emotions, insecurities, and equities out of it, you cannot disqualify for a second that all of the tropes that come out of the left are just complete hypocrisy and nonsense. The left hates people like Hunter Biden. They hate these white males that flex their privilege. They have ties into the justice system that gets them off of criminal activity because other persons, people of color and the like, minorities, etc., would never get away with any of this stuff. But because Hunter's got the inroads because of his old man, he is the person of unbelievable privilege. Money, connected, all these criminal acts and activities, excused, potential, all of the collusion with real governments, people overseas. They're bringing dark money, dirty money into the states, and they are enriching themselves with it. The media doesn't call it out, just provides them coverage. They hate people like this, where he's just excused for his bad behaviors, and he's flexing his privileges to get out from under these things. And we all know, mark my words, the day is June 14th. At some point this year, Biden, he won't pardon him, but he'll commute his sentence so he doesn't have to do it. Mark my words, it's going to happen. And the media will continue to keep running shade for these bad behaviors. I'll show you.
Meantime, switching gears, President Biden did address gun violence yesterday at an Everytown event, but curiously, he did not mention his son Hunter's felony gun conviction, which came down hours earlier. The White House also abruptly canceling the press briefing, but that did not stop the media from making this all about Donald J. Trump. Watch.
Politically, this is a big blow to Trump. And that's, I think, if you're looking for just political fallout, he's trying so hard to create this weaponization, and this has been a Republican talking point for so long.
You have a president of the United States who is living embodiment of the rule of law, even with respect to his only living son.
Republicans have really struggled to make this line of attack stick because most people see this and feel sympathy.
I guess you have to respect and understand that the rules of the game there are no rules. It's a dirty business. And there's not news anymore. We all know it. There is partisan media engines that peddle the positions of corporate America, which is in bed with government, right and left. Right and left, okay? One thing I do is I call it down the middle. Unfortunately, the left gives me such fodder to talk about because the hypocrisy is always on display. You should be then, if you're really, truly dispassionate, you should be saying, well, Trump got convicted on these counts, he's going to appeal. Hunter got convicted on these counts. If on the merits he is innocent or not guilty, he's going to appeal it. But instead, they just browbeat about Trump, which at some point we all know is going to get taken up on appeal and thrown out because it was never a case to begin with. But there is dead to rights. Hunter, drug user, we all know it. He wrote a book to talk about it. He went in front of Congress on display for a little documentary so that he could monetize it. And then people... You got to give credit to people in Delaware who are wherever he got convicted on this whole thing. The jury went, hey, listen, dead to rights. The guy is a convicted felon, is not supposed to have a gun, had a gun, guilty. Real simple. But the media keeps running the shade. Orange man bad? Hunter Biden, this poor guy struggling with drug use.
Joe, there's also a narrative of whether Joe Biden's mental psyche is okay. That was a theme throughout a lot of the coverage yesterday. The Post, Washington Post, saying Hunter Biden's guilty verdict Tuesday, coupled with the trial that resurfaced dark moments in the Biden family history, could weigh heavily on the president in the final months of a grueling re-election campaign. Many of the president's allies privately worry. But notice the lack of similar concern for Trump's psyche. Watch the comparison.
one could argue Hunter Biden is being treated worse than your average citizen.
This has to be, as a parent, the worst nightmare come true.
Joe and Jill Biden have been role models for parents of addicted children.
Donald Trump is waking up today facing a very different reality. His first morning as a convicted felon in New York.
Donald Trump became the first American president ever convicted of a crime. And then seconds later, the first president ever convicted of 2 felonies. Then every few seconds for a few minutes thereafter, he kept breaking his own brand new old record.
Joe, my eyes aren't so great. That's why I wear these spectacles. I didn't see a lot of tears there when they were discussing Donald J. Trump. Did I miss something?
And of course, what you saw were clips from MSNBC. And once upon a time, it was a different network. But that's fine because, again, we're in a place in this world now where that there are partisan news networks. There's no Fox is on the right, MSNBC is on the left, CNN is somewhere in the middle. No, that Fox Business, those networks tend to be moderately right. And then you have CNN, which we know is anti-Trump, left, and MSNBC, which is far left. We know they're on the left. So it's not news anymore. It's partisan spin based upon what the corporate bend is to the cycle. They manufacture and create news. They put themselves as part of the news cycle, as opposed to just reporting on the cults of personalities that are out there in our world. They put themselves in the story. But at least that's fine. That's what it is. We know what it is, and we can look at it and critically break it down and analyze it and accept it from where it's coming from and who's speaking. And Joe Concha from Fox echoed the same sentiments.
Look, overall, this is where we're at this point. Those are mostly MSNBC clips. We know where they come from completely. It used to be a different network 20 years ago. I mean, you had some folks on there that actually gave you another point of view. And then we saw, obviously, what happened to Ronna McDaniel, who was milquetoast at best in terms of making an argument that may be actually positive for Republicans or towards Donald Trump. And she was pulled from the air permanently in perpetuity after just one appearance because the inmates run the asylum over there and they made sure that she was out of there. So this is where we're at. This is what Donald Trump's going to have to deal with up until Election Day. Mostly a press that is hostile towards him while they're hospitable towards Biden. But since the messenger is so mistrusted at this point, the messenger being the media, I'm not sure what impact our media, our press has on the public psyche at this point. I'll go back to this stat because it's my favorite one. Before the 2016 election, 59 newspapers we looked at the Hill gave their endorsements of the 2 candidates. 57 endorsements went to Hillary Clinton, 2 went to Donald Trump, and that got Hillary Clinton a set of steak knives and a concession speech. So go figure.
Let's remember.
And so you have it. The week's bend and excitement. Hunter Biden. Hypocrisy in the news at its all-time finest. Left, right, center. At least we know that there's bend and spin that always comes from either side. So the best thing for you to do is choose the side that makes the most sense. Rational, reasonable, logical, and what the hell? A little bit of fun. You're not going to get a lot of laughing over on MSNBC. Certainly not from Rachel Madcow, because those people, they need a good amount of Lexapro and Zoloft. Why not?